Hello, thank you for watching. My name is Gabriel Peterson, and today I will be presenting to you Boy Scouts of America versus Dale, a U.S. Supreme Court case that took place in 2000 involving the Boy Scouts of America Association, or organization rather, and James Dale. Now, essentially, the facts of the case. James Dale was a very exemplary member of the Boy Scouts of America. He had been involved in the organization since his childhood. He had achieved very high ranks within the organization, including Eagle Scout and Assistant Scoutmaster, both very prestigious ranks within the organization. Now, what happened to cause this case was he was actually homosexual, and he kept it hidden for most of his life, at least to the organization. But once he came out in an article, a newspaper article, the Boy Scouts discovered this, and they immediately kicked him out based off of him coming out as homosexual. And essentially, what they said, the Boy Scouts that is, they said that homosexuality is not allowed in their organization. And he said, well, the state of New Jersey says you can't do that. There's actually a law, a state accommodation law, saying you can't discriminate against homosexuals. So, of course, he won within the New Jersey Supreme Court, and the Boy Scouts organization did not like that. They wanted to appeal it in the U.S. Supreme Court. They said, we're appealing this. So essentially, what happened in the Supreme Court case, it was a 5-4 decision, so it was a mixed bag. It wasn't like one side was, this is right and this is wrong. It was a mixed bag. The opinion of the court, the majority, was delivered by Chief Justice Rehnquist. He essentially stated that the Boy Scouts organization can bar homosexuals based off of their First Amendment rights to expressive association, essentially stating that it's not their role to say who an organization can and cannot admit into their ranks. It's their own right to decide that. They said that the Boy Scouts organization or association essentially stated back in the day that homosexuality was not allowed within their organization, and that was enough for them to say that you have your First Amendment rights to expressive association. Essentially, the U.S. can't stop you. You can pretty much allow who you want and who you don't want. You can make those decisions yourself based off your First Amendment rights. Now, of course, Justice Stevens delivered the dissent, which was countering this thought of state discrimination laws were designed to prohibit this kind of thing from happening. It sets the principle over prejudice. Essentially, that's what they were for. So the homosexual ban did not follow any of the original values in the Boy Scouts Code of Conduct, you could say. All that they stated is that you had to be morally straight and clean, which straight didn't mean sexual orientation. It just meant you had to be morally good. And that had nothing to do with homosexuality. And in order to have a claim of First Amendment right to expressive association, you sort of have to have your stuff together. You have to know where you stand. And essentially what Stevens stated is that, and he had proof as well, that the Boy Scouts never really had it officially authorized or stated that this was not allowed. And the Boy Scouts had been around for decades. And just in the 70s, they came out with a memo that wasn't even publicized. So the American public didn't even know that this was something that was not allowed. It could have been assumed, but it wasn't official. And that's what Stevens was trying to get across. Basically, he said that as well, what they had made official was that the Boy Scouts had made clear that sexual matters were for private or more professional. Like, if you have to discuss this kind of thing, make it with a professional, not with your scoutmaster. This is not for here. So, those are the two sides of the argument. They're both very clear. Now, the holding, of course, was that the Supreme Court stated the New Jersey Public Accommodation Law could not be applied, was unconstitutional based off of the organization's First Amendment rights to expressive association. So, essentially, James Dale could not be, they could not force the Boy Scouts to readmit him based off of their First Amendment rights to expressive association. And that was that. So thank you for watching the Boy Scouts of America versus Dale Supreme Court case. Hope you enjoyed.